Today we're going to work on the rules for adding and subtracting decimals. When we add and subtract decimals, we have relatively simple rules, but it's very important that the most important thing is where our decimal point lies. They are lined up vertically, and after you line them up vertically, you follow your normal rules for adding and subtracting, whether you have to carry when a number is more than 10, or whether you have to borrow when you cannot subtract. So step number one, line up your decimal points. Step number two, bring down the decimal point. I really think that this is an important point to make, that bring it down before you do any computation, because while you bring it down, when you bring it down first, it allows you to not forget it, number one. Two, you know it's in the right spot, therefore when your computation is happening, everything's lined up and all you have to do is your math. Step three, add or subtract. And I've got an example here, 32.73 plus 5.92. As you can see, it's set up vertically. The decimal is brought down, and then you just add the digits going all the way across. Same thing with subtraction, 49.83 minus 3.67. You lined up your decimals, you brought down your decimals, and you added. I've got 6 examples on the board. I'm going to do some that are all addition, some that are all subtraction. One point I want to make is it's always good after you line them up vertically is to do a mental note in your head of what the answer should be after you estimate it. So the first thing I'm going to do is set this up vertically. 16.8 plus 7.2. Now as you can see, I've lined up my decimal points. I'm going to go ahead and bring my decimal point down so I know exactly where it goes. And now I'm just going to do a quick estimation in my head. Using my rules for rounding, I know that 16.8 should be about 17, and 7.2 should be 7. So I know that going in, before I do any math, that my answer should be right around 24. Now I'm actually going to do my math. 8 plus 2 is 10. I'm going to put my 0 down, carry my 1. 7 plus 6 is 13, plus 1 is 14. My 4 goes down, carry my 1, and my answer is 24. So it actually ended up being exactly what my estimate was. In my next example, I purposely put 33 as a whole number up here. This is a mistake that I consistently see, to where students will put your 33 and then just go ahead and line up the digits so that it looks like this. And that is 100% wrong. You're going to end up with the incorrect answer there, because there is no decimal point with 33. And the point I want to make is that every whole number is a decimal. You can add a decimal point and a 0 to any whole number, whether you're adding or subtracting. So that's the first thing we want to do here, is make this 33.0. Now I know where the decimal point is and where to line up the 6.5 when I'm adding. I'm going to go ahead and bring down my decimal so I don't forget, and do a quick estimate in my head. 33 is a whole number, so it's 33. 6.5, using my rules from rounding, would round up to 7. And 33 plus 7 would be 40. So I know my answer should be right around 40. 5 plus 0 is 5. 6 plus 3 is 9. And the 3 coming down makes it 39.5. 39.5, very close to 40. I know my decimal's in the right spot, and my math's probably correct as well. Now, moving on to addition. Same rules apply for addition. What I want to do is line up my decimal points. 58.73 minus 6.3. Bring down my decimal. And one other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a 0 in this placeholder and this placeholder. Therefore, I just know that all my digits are lined up. I'm going to go ahead and estimate. 58.73 is about 59, and 6.3 is about 6. And when I subtract, 59 minus 6 is 53. Okay, so I know my answer should be right around 53. I'm going to go ahead and subtract. 3 minus 0 is 3. 7 minus 3 is 4. 8 minus 6 is 2. And 5 subtract 0 is 5. So my final answer is 52.43, which is very close to my estimate of 53. Next, I have 81.5 minus 9. I purposely subtracted a whole number here because I want to make a point when we set this up. This is what I will see a lot of students do. 81.5 minus 9. Lining up the digits and just going through the subtraction. And just like we did with the previous addition problem, this is a whole number. I have to change it into a decimal in order for it to work when I subtract. So this 9 has to be 9.0. Now I have a decimal point that I can bring down for both, and I've created an extra digit, a place value for this 0. Therefore, there's something under the 5 to subtract. Let's go ahead and do my estimation. 81.5 is about 82, and 9.0 is a whole number, it's 9. So when I subtract those two, my answer should be about 73 when it's all said and done. Now let's go through my subtraction. 5 minus 0 is 5. I cannot take 9 from 1, so I'm going to borrow from the 8, make it a 7, and make the 1 an 11. Now I can subtract. 11 minus 9 is 2, and 7 minus 0 is 7. 72.5 is very close to 73, so I know that my decimal's in the correct spot. Okay, now I'm going to go back over and do one more addition and one more subtraction problem. This is another example where I'm adding a decimal with a whole number. What I do not want to do is line up my decimals and put my whole number right underneath it to where the digits line up, because that would be incorrect. I have to change this 13 to a decimal. It has to become 13.0 in order for my decimal to be in the correct spot. So when I do that, now I've created a placeholder here underneath the 3 where I can put my 0, and I know that my 1's place and my 10's place are in the correct spots. I'm going to bring down my decimal. I'm going to first go ahead and do a quick estimate. 56.3 is about 56, and 13 is a whole number. When I add those two together, my answer should be right about 69 at the end. So 3 plus 0 is 3, 6 plus 3 is 9, and 5 plus 1 is 6. And my final answer is 69.3, which is very, very close to my estimate of 69. Last problem. I purposely went ahead and made a whole number in this as well. If I just go to setting it up vertically and don't think about this being a whole number, this is the mistake that I often see. The digits are lined up, there's one decimal point, and the next thing you know, when you subtract, you're getting a completely incorrect answer. I must change this 40 to a decimal point and 0, therefore making it 40.0. Now I have a spot to line up my decimal points and add. Once I've lined it up, I'm going to do a quick estimate. 40 is a whole number, so I leave it. 6.4, not quite 6.5, so I'm going to leave it right at 6. And when I would subtract these two, my answer would be about 34. Now, I want to bring down my decimal, ask myself, can I take 4 away from 0? I cannot, so I need to borrow. Since I'm borrowing across zeros, I'm going to go ahead and go over and make this 40 a 39, change this 0 to a 10, and now I can subtract. 10 minus 4 is 6, 9 take away 6 is 3, and 3 minus 0 would be 3. 33.6, very close to my estimate of 34, so I know that I have my decimal point in the right spot, and my answer is probably correct. To sum up this lesson, most important thing is getting the decimal points lined up when you add or subtract, whether you already have decimal points in all of your add-ins or in anything that you're subtracting, or whether or not you have whole numbers there as well. If there's whole numbers, you absolutely need to turn them into decimals and fill those placeholders with zeros after or before in order to get the correct answer.